Hello, and welcome to the first CGIS brief of season 2 for any of you who are keeping track. Just a quick plug, we do record these sessions, so if you want to see any of the last briefs from last semester, feel free to check us out on YouTube. You can also find the link to all of our other videos on the homepage of the CGIS website. As a little refresher, just in case this is your first time attending a CGIS brief, these briefs take place every 2 weeks during the semester. We'll pick a topic and divvy up the research amongst the three of us and then present out to you like we're doing today. So keep in mind that we are not experts, but some briefs in the future may also have a guest host who specializes or just has a ton of experience with the topic, like today's guest who has an extensive travel history and has seen quite a bit. I think we'd pretty much consider him to be an expert in today's topic. This may seem like a presentation, but we really would like to encourage you to really see this as a conversation, right? So feel free to ask any questions. You can use the mic, you can use the chat room. Really, all of us have traveled abroad, we've studied abroad, so we do have experience that we definitely want to share out with you today. So I'm your moderator. So if you are using the chat box, I'll speak on your behalf today. We've got 6 new exciting topics for this semester, and we can't wait to talk about them. But today you're here to hear about just one brief in particular, one that I'm sure you didn't know that you needed to know much about, which is bathroom culture abroad. So before we get started, let me just introduce myself and the CGIS brief team. So my name is Stephen Gonzalez. That's me on the left. I am the communication specialist here at CGIS, and I'm going to let Ashton introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Ashton, and I'm an intercultural programs advisor at CGIS. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about bathrooms abroad.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Callie Rouse is not here with us today, but she will be joining us for the next briefs that are to come in the following semester. So we miss you, Callie, and we hope we do you justice during this presentation. And of course, our amazing guest today.
I am Mike Jordan. I'm the director of CGIS, and proud to be an expert on using the bathroom all around the world.
I have to say this was really uncomfortable for me, looking up all of this research and just really diving into all the differences that there are amongst all the cultures of the world. So hopefully all of you are going to learn a little bit about this topic. So why does this topic matter? There is so much to consider when traveling that when you actually get to your destination and you're met with this immediate culture shift, such as how to use the bathroom in another country. It can really impact you mentally in an unusual way. So you definitely want to be prepared. I know when I went abroad for the first time and opened the bathroom door to find a bidet, I was so confused. I was like, what the heck is this? And I was way too afraid to ask other people what it was because I didn't want to seem so uncultured, So I spent like 2 or 3 days mad at myself and mad that the bidet never actually came up in conversation with my peers. It really wasn't until I finally gave up and asked somebody, and one person was like, I have no idea what that is. And then another person explained it to us. And then also one of the most important takeaways about something like bathroom culture is just an understanding of social and economical differences. This is all a part of the intercultural learning process that CGIS is really hoping for you to have when you go abroad. Understanding these differences will hopefully shed some light on privilege, accessibility, and for today's topic, to be quite frank, a completely different way to use the bathroom that may actually be better for your body. And we'll talk more about that a little later. So here are just a few examples of bathroom norms from abroad before we actually get region specific. So for example, bathroom attendants. You may notice in a lot of different countries that there are actual bathroom attendants in the restroom. They're either cleaning or they're even maybe selling you toilet paper. I did read that in Asia, you'll find older women cleaning the bathroom, and that goes for men's restrooms too. But some people find it most shocking because you may be using the urinal, or you may be in the stall, and you may see like a broom come in between your feet. I also know that there are a few places in Europe where they may not necessarily charge you to use the toilet, but attendants will charge you for the paper. And keep in mind that these attendants expect to be tipped. The attendants usually put big bills or big coins in their tip tray to throw you off. I did find in one resource that that you should probably leave the equivalent of 50 cents for attendance when you're tipping. And then speaking of paying to use the toilet or for toilet paper, this is extremely common abroad. So try to hold on to your change. I think there has been several times where I've found myself abroad finding restrooms that charge to use the toilets, and I have no change on me. I remember the first time this actually happened to me, I ended up having to ask complete strangers for 10 cents. Okay, so don't be that guy. Hold on to some change. I think I did find one place that maybe accepted bills, but take the UK for example, they're coin operated. So they have like those, like, I don't know what those things are called. You see them like in probably subways that they're like metal bars and they won't move until you put in a coin.
Turnstiles. Yeah.
What was that?
Turnstiles.
Yeah. And then don't put toilet paper down the drain unless you know it's okay. So this is also very common. Usually there are signs indicating whether it's okay or not. You may even see a wastebasket for used toilet paper. Usually places enforce this because it's possible that the plumbing might not be so great. I know I've seen this a few times here in the States, but it's fairly common abroad. And then bring your own toilet paper. I think in so many ways, in some places, like they're not stocking the toilet paper, or they may not even offer it. So I know we think about this a lot when we think about camping, but while traveling abroad, with toilet paper may seem a bit odd, it might prove to be pretty helpful in the end. And lastly, Ashton is going to speak about the squeegee. I'm excited.
Yes, you may be wondering why we have squeegee on there, and we're mainly talking about toilets during this segment, but it's important to mention that some bathrooms that you walk into, whether you're in Europe or Asia, the whole bathroom may be tiled. There's not going to be a separate tub or a shower. It's just going to be all one room that you're going to use the restroom and you're going to shower in. So you'll want to, oh, thanks, Ben. He said it was called a wet bathroom. Squeegee down the shower or the whole bathroom after you're done taking a shower for the next person to use. So that might be something that you find on your travels.
There we have a squat toilet, and it's not just a urinal set into the floor. If you've never seen one before, that is for all bodily functions right there. Men and women alike, you put your feet on the little ears sticking out to the side there and do your business. So we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but that is a good picture. And you'll also notice the bucket of water located right in front of it, which we'll talk about later as well. Up top, if you've never seen one before, is a bidet. And this is, it was very common in Europe, or it still is very common in Europe and other parts of the world. And now it's becoming more and more common here in the United States. It's to clean your private parts, front and rear. Europeans used to take, and to some degree still do, you don't have to bathe as often, as frequently, but you do want to keep certain parts of your body clean. So this is a way to do that while minimizing water use. Right now, that's a standalone bidet, but you'll see more and more built into toilets that'll have a little jet that'll pop out from under the seat and directionally spray the water. And, 21st century, we're getting fancier and fancier. So now some have air dry and rotating heads and pulsating action and all kinds of stuff. But the basic idea is that's a way to just target the cleaning of your private parts there. Often in Europe, you will see now dual flush toilets. they use a lot less water if it's just urine, whereas if they're solids, you opt for the other. We see those more and more frequently in the United States now as well, so you're probably familiar with them. Oftentimes in Europe, you'll have individual toilet rooms, but then a common hand washing station that's unisex. This can throw some Americans for a loop since we tend to keep things separated by gender when it comes to bathrooms. Nomenclature is also important. Often toilet facilities will be referred to either as a toilet, where is the toilet, or a WC, which stands for water closet, as opposed to a bathroom, which in many parts of the world would be somewhere that you bathe. And clearly, when you're in a public washroom or toilet facility, it's not meant for bathing. This holds true in Spain as well. And we in the United States tend to learn Latin American Spanish, and you say, ¿Dónde está el baño? One of the first phrases everyone learns in Spanish. But in Spain, el baño is where you bathe. It has a bathtub or a shower. When you're in a restaurant or a bar, wherever you might be, train station, you would ask, ¿Dónde están los servicios? The services, as opposed to baño. Even in Europe, typically squat toilets are seen in Asia, the Middle East, and in Africa, in parts of Africa. But you do see some in Europe as well, especially towards Turkey.
Yeah, my study abroad in France, my school had a Turkish toilet in the school's bathroom, and I was not expecting that.
Well, when we were designing the plans for Weiser Hall, which was renovated about 3 or 4 years ago, CGIS actually inquired about putting in a non-Western toilet because there, to my knowledge, there are none on campus. And there's actually a company in Michigan that makes them, that makes squat toilets, but the donors did not go for that. So alas, we have no squat toilet in Weiser Hall. We tried though.
That's unfortunate. I did just want to point out at the bottom photo, so that is what an Uritrottoir would look like in France. Right now there's like a big debate right now about what to do with them, because I mean, obviously for us it can seem a little shocking. You see this tour boat and then there's a man just urinating into this box. I will say that in Paris there are more of those. They're like robotic bathrooms. They're so cool. They self-clean, and they're, you know, definitely gender neutral bathrooms. Like I know like they pop up mostly like around tourist traps though, so it might get a little bit crowded. But you might be, I mean, that might be helpful for you if you're looking for the bathroom, since Uritrottoir is not inclusive. Before we move on to the next slide, we just wanted to poll you on whether or not you are left-handed or right-handed. So let me just pull up that poll. You guys can get to answering. Give you a few seconds. Seems like 89% of you are right-handed, and you know, one of you is left-handed.
Which, from what I've heard, is about standard across the population. So that's good.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean,
all right, so we're going to talk a little bit about bathrooms in Asia. And this cartoon refers to the first time I was in Japan. And we had arrived that day when our friends took us out to dinner that night. We were at a restaurant. I excused myself to go use the bathroom, went upstairs, and there were kanji on the two doors. One apparently saying men and one saying women. I do not speak Japanese. I did not know the appropriate kanji, and I had to use the bathroom right then. So I ended up just picking one and going in. Fortunately, I saw a urinal on the wall, so I thought, great, I chose correctly. But it's a good idea to know what you're looking for before you go. This is true even in America. I was with someone from Latin America. We were at an Outback. She had not been in the States for long. She was a graduate student. She came back to the table and said, "What is a Sheila and what is a bloke?" Because that's how they had the male and female bathrooms labeled. So this kind of confusion can result not only abroad, but here as well. One of the things to remember is that we waste a lot of almost everything in America, including water. In Spain, I spent a year in Spain when I was an undergraduate, and the host mother of the house that I lived in was always on us about not wasting water. The water heater was a little 3-gallon unit that was bolted to the side, bolted to the wall in the shower. So that's how much hot water there was. It took, a good 30 minutes for that to heat up to the right temperature. So you've got that long. You're supposed to turn on the water, wet yourself, turn off the water, lather up, turn on the water to rinse off, and then you're done. The idea of like a 20-minute American, continuous shower was egregious and was not going to be tolerated. Definitely inquire as to, the practices, where you're going, either before you get there or when you're there, and abide by them. Madrid was beset by severe water shortages, so it was really important to conserve water in those ways. Also, after using the bathroom, it is, of course, important to wash your hands. It's nowadays it's very possible for us to just take a little thing of hand sanitizer with us, which is good because you never know if there's going to be soap. Or in some cases, you might be in a place where you don't necessarily want to wash your hands if you're with the local tap water, if you're going to be eating with your hands later. We had asked about whether you're left-handed or right-handed because in many parts of the world, they do not use toilet paper. If you think back a few slides to that squat potty, there was a bucket of water in front of it with a little cup inside. And the idea is you use a little cup to transfer a quantity of water to your left hand. You don't use your right hand for this, and your left hand is using that water to clean your posterior. Everyone in societies where this is done, to my knowledge, you're only supposed to use your left hand for that kind of cleaning. When you're eating, you're only supposed to use your right hand for reasons that are now, I would hope, obvious, especially if you're ever going to be taking any food from a communal dish, anything like that. It would be quite the faux pas and seen as really unacceptable to reach in with your left hand to grab food. If you are left-handed, you might have to practice. If you're right-handed, you might have to practice other activities with your left hand just to get everything done. But it's actually a very hygienic way of staying clean, and you can then you not only can, you must then wash your hand afterwards, and it does a very good job of keeping you clean and hygienic. Just a note on Japan. That first time I was there, I thought I knew what to expect because I had seen prior to going, and this was 18, 20 years ago, Japan was already becoming famous for its very fancy automated toilets with the seats that warm up and the toilets play music and release scents and everything else. That's what I was expecting from Japanese toilets. And I was not disappointed. They definitely existed there. However, before going out that first night, we were walking with our friends through a park, and my wife was about 7 months pregnant at that point, and she had to use the bathroom. She went into one in a park, and she came back out and said, "Oh, I think that's the men's room," because it was a squat potty that she had never seen before, and she thought that was just a men's urinal set in the floor. When she found out that, nope, that's it. That's what you got to use if you have to go right now. It was a shocking moment for her, especially, being that pregnant. It was not necessarily easy. You don't want the first time that you're trying to balance and take care of these necessities to be one in which you have to go urgently, and you've never really done this before. So be informed before you go.
One water method that we didn't touch on, we showed the bucket of water and the mug, but a lot of Asian toilets, like in India, they'll have like a spray, just like the one in your kitchen, right? So it has a cord connected to it. And let me tell you, the water is not warm. So it can be quite shocking when you use it for the first few times.
I was just gonna say, don't you, Ashton, have an interesting story about your host mom when it came to showering?
Yeah, when I was in France, similar to Mike's story, when he was in Spain, when I would take showers, she would always like be rapping on the door telling me to hurry up, and I just like didn't understand like the cultural difference there. And I actually had a French friend who lived in the same town, and I asked him, you know, how long do French people take showers? And he's like, oh, like 20 minutes. And I don't know if he was like super high maintenance or what, but that did not translate to my host mom's expectations. So communication was key there.
I do remember like staying in like some hostels and there being like really long lines for the shower, but they would go so fast because people were in and out. And me, I'm used to taking like, I'm embarrassed to say it, like 45-minute hot showers. Okay.
Oh,
and I do that. Can't do that when you're abroad. So yeah.
No, and if you do that in a hostel, you're going to really piss off a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So in Latin America, usually you will see Western toilets. So that's something very familiar. It's very infrequent, though, that you would actually flush toilet paper. That's going to destroy the plumbing system. So what you'll usually find is a little waste paper basket. Sometimes, in fact, there is none, and you just see a pile of used toilet paper, like in the corner behind the toilet, and there are attendants who will come clean it up every 15 minutes or so. But do what other people are doing. You know, don't assume that like, oh, well, they do this, I'm just going to flush it. You could really cause some severe damage. You know, clearly, if that's the local system, emulate it. Also, in a lot of places, you will not find toilet paper provided for you. So make sure you carry some around in your pocket or your backpack, whatever it might be. You don't need to carry a whole roll all the time, just enough to get you through the day or whatever you might need. You know, if you're going to Northern Africa, you'll certainly see Western toilets, but there are plenty of places as well that have the more traditional squat toilets. You know, it depends where you are, sort of how many foreigners tend to be around there, and it varies by the economic level of the area you're in as well.
So what I'm gathering from this is that to prepare to travel abroad, you need to start doing lots of squats because you're going to be squatting all the time, whether it's hovering over a wet toilet or using a squat toilet. So obviously when you travel, even within the United States, the expectations of hygiene are going to be vastly different. I know when I was in India, virtually every toilet I walked into, there was just like water everywhere, all over the floor and on the toilet seat. And in the US, like, you know, we would just wipe that with toilet paper, right? Well, that may not be available to you. So you will have to, you know, hover or something to accommodate that. And also privacy isn't a given. If you start doing some more research, you'll see photos of bathrooms where there's just rows of squat toilets and no partitions, nothing. So you may have to be creative. If you have a travel companion, maybe have them stand around you to give you a little privacy or use an umbrella. So just something to think about. And I know we've been talking about toilet paper a lot, and you don't want to walk out of the bathroom wet, especially if you're going to be in a hot climate or walking around a lot, because that can cause a lot of irritation. And some advice is, you know, having a little Ziploc with a little, you know, hand towel with you so you could dry off and, you know, use the new one every day. And like we've mentioned, that so many toilets abroad, you know, you have to pay money and you may not have change, or it may be a couple hours in between toilets. So even if you don't feel like you have to go when you see a toilet, just go, because it may be a long time before you find another one. We have a great infographic here of how to use a squat toilet. I think the important thing to point out is that this person has their pants around their knees instead of around their ankles to prevent it from getting wet, whether that's from the floor wetness or your own. There's lots of different charts online that can be very helpful. And then another thing just to mention as you're doing your research before you go abroad are the availability of gender neutral bathrooms. It's becoming more popular. especially in Nordic countries. But if you're trans or non-binary, you definitely want to stay safe and know what the cultural norms are, or even what the local laws are regarding using bathrooms of different gender than what you look like, because you never know how people will react. I think Stephen said earlier, when you're getting ready to go abroad, you're thinking about so many other things. The toilet probably is the last thing on your mind, but this is something you're going to use multiple times a day. So it's definitely something you want to look into. And I think, talking about it is probably the fastest way to learn. Talking about the bathroom and your bowel movements may not be as taboo in the countries you're traveling to as it is here in the US. We try to keep it secret. It's very private and embarrassing, but everybody poops, right? There's a children's book titled that. So I think we can take advice from that book, and we can accept the difference. I know a lot of people in the US, the thought of using a squat toilet or not using, toilet paper seems like the end of the world, but it's actually more ergonomically correct to go to the restroom in that position. I included a little diagram here to kind of show why. So there are reasons that people choose to use the toilets that they use around the world, and the Western method isn't necessarily the best method. And another thing to note are feminine hygiene products. When you're preparing to go abroad, think about, do I need to bring my products with me? They may not be readily available to you in some places. And you may want to think about using a more sustainable method while traveling instead of products that are thrown away. And then if you have diarrhea or constipation or any other issues with your tummy, make sure you tell someone right away. For example, the local pharmacy or your faculty leader. I know it's embarrassing, but something very simple can be fixed right away instead of letting it get into a worse situation where you have to be hospitalized or something like that.
On that note, that I've been in that situation where a student came to me and said that he had not had a bowel movement in over a week. And, had he talked to someone beforehand, it would have just been a matter of taking, some laxatives. But since he waited this long, he had to go to the hospital, and there were some very invasive and unpleasant procedures he had to undergo to restore everything to working order. So, get over the embarrassment. And if you've got an issue like that, talk to someone who can help you get the medical or pharmaceutical attention that you need.
Yeah, my husband's family is from India, and they're not shy about talking about their bowel movements. So don't be afraid. And like I said, ask a local. They will definitely help you through the process. They're usually very nice, and they're there to help share their culture. And on a final note, we've put together some resources that I think, when you're looking for travel blogs, there are a ton about using the bathroom with a lot of different diagrams that show you how to use them. So definitely look into those.
All right. That ends our portion of the CGIS Brief, Bathroom Culture Abroad. Does anybody have any questions? We do have one question I see already. Out of curiosity, how do people with poor balance or no leg muscles use squat toilets? That's a great question. Does anyone have an answer?
I was just going to say I qualify as one of those people, and it's not fun. I when I've been in places, I try and scope out where are there Western toilets available, and I try and make plans to use them before I go. But you never know if you're on a day trip or something like that, and the bus pulls into a place and all they've got is squat toilets. It's good to know those strategies that we've talked about, like keeping your pants around your knees, not your ankles. Don't ask why I know that. Let's just say it was unfortunate. So yeah, be prepared, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, and it's good to practice beforehand. I wish I had, like Ashton said, do those squats before you go.
When I Googled images for international toilets, I do recall one squatty potty having a bar on the side, but it was just one photo out of the many. So I'm not sure how common it is to have one of those handles there for you to
I've
hold
never
on.
seen that.
Yeah.
I would have appreciated it though.
Were there any other questions? If you think of anything, feel free to chat it out. I'm just gonna talk briefly about our next brief, which is happening in 2 weeks. We'll be talking about drinking and nightlife abroad. We know this is something on your mind. It was on my mind. It's on all of our minds when we go abroad. So we're going to be talking, giving you some tips and tricks about navigating your way around nightlife culture abroad. Hopefully you can join us. And it's same time, same day, 2 weeks from now, which is February 11th at 3 p.m. on Thursday. We'll see y'all there. If there are no more questions, thank you so much for attending. We hope you learned a little bit about bathrooms abroad. Thank you to Michael Jordan, the director, for joining us on today's brief. Very insightful, very informative. I can't wait to go abroad again and experience a new toilet.
No doubt.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.